Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brainwaves. When it comes to stigma from mental illness, communication liberates. It's time to bring brain illnesses to the light of day on a large scale, and award-winning filmmaker Scott Rice is on it. Scott not only teaches a class on mental health filmmaking at a college in Texas, but he also has recently produced several moving short features about people who live with mental health challenges for the website The Mental Health Channel. Scott has also recently made a profile about me for the Mental Health Channel. I'm really excited to report, and we'll come back to that in a little bit. But first, let's meet Scott and learn a bit about his work in mental health awareness building. Scott, thank you so much for being with us on Brainwaves today.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive right in. I got some questions for you.
Sure.
So how did you first get involved in making films about people with living with mental health challenges?
Well, growing up, I've always been interested in psychology, and probably if I weren't a filmmaker, I'd be a therapist, a psychologist. And at one point, a man named Harry Lynch, who started the Mental Health Channel, along with his partner Jeff Fraley, who both started the channel because they'd had some mental illness-related tragedies in their family. They came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in directing some pieces on mental health, and I thought that sounded great. I also thought it sounded great when they suggested that I teach a class at the University of Texas where the students create films also about mental health. And I think that's important because young people, particularly college students, really aren't interested in talking about these issues because of the stigma. So it's a good way to get young people, teens and young adults talking about this stuff.
Very good, very good. So, let's see. Why is it important for the general public to understand these diseases better?
Well, I think there's a lot of misunderstandings out there. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of people who don't want to talk about this stuff. So what we're trying to do is just normalize having a conversation about this, whether it be with your friends or with your family, so that people who are struggling can come out of the shadows and get help. So that's really the main goal of the channel.
Awesome. That is so necessary, and there's so much stigma today that that's a great message to give to people. So thanks.
Sure.
Through your work, what in particular have you learned about mental illness that you'd like to share with viewers, and also the people who live with mental illness that you'd like to share with viewers?
Yeah, well, what I've learned is, in doing these documentaries that mental illness is very physical. There's a physical aspect. We're talking about the most complex organ in our body, and it's our brains. And a lot of people talk about mental illness, and they don't really think of it as a brain disease. And I think that's important. I think if people could start thinking about mental health as sort of being more synonymous with physical health, people would be more likely to talk about it. So that's something that's really impacted me.
Very good. That makes sense because the brain is, of course, part of the body, and it's all one system. So that's a good message too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've told me that through your profiles of people who live with these mental health challenges that you've learned some profound insights about approaches to wellness from your subjects. And what ideas have stuck with you about this?
Well, just jumping off from what I said before, I think that what I've noticed sort of uniformly across the board about people who struggle with certain disorders is that they really take care of themselves physically. And that really struck me because I don't take as good a care of myself physically as many of these people do. And it's impacted my life. So for example, right before I got on Skype here to talk to you, I went for a jog. I remember watching you running, working out, and doing more push-ups than I could ever imagine doing myself. And I want to be like that. And in a lot of ways, people who struggle with mental illness or brain disorders, I have found have done a better job being mentally fit than people who are lucky enough not to have a problem that they deal with because they research, they learn about physical wellness, they learn about how that impacts the brain and our mental well-being, and they also do things like meditate. They do things about, figuring out about how to sort of understand mindfulness, which is a word I didn't even understand what mindfulness meant before I started talking to people with brain diseases. So I feel like I have a lot to learn from people who struggle, and I think the general population out there does too.
Great. That's great. So, and I agree.
Yeah.
So I've learned a lot from working with you too. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Well, thank you, Brandon.
Yeah. And thank you so much for filling my profile. It was a lot of fun doing that with you. And when do you think it might appear on the Mental Health Channel?
I think it's going to be a little while. We're sort of backed up in post-production. We have a lot of episodes that we're doing. It could be as late as mid-February. I'm trying to push it to be more mid-January, but right when it's up, we'll definitely let you know.
Thank
Very
you.
excited for it.
Okay, me too. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll make an announcement on IMRO's social media channels and perhaps the website too when it goes up.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, what is the URL for the Mental Health Channel?
It's mentalhealthchannel.tv. So go check it out. Eventually there will be 120 episodes up there. Again, we want it to sort of be the YouTube of mental health, everything mental health related in terms of content. We'd like to be up there. There's about 20 episodes up there now, but just keep checking back. It'll keep growing and growing and growing.
I hope so. One last thing. If people know of somebody who might be good to feature on the Mental Health Channel, how can they contact the channel?
Sure. You can email mhc@arcosfilms.com. That's ARCOSFILMS.com. mhc@arcosfilms.com.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So now if people have any questions for you on brainwaves after I post this video, are you ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely. I really look forward to it. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Scott, so much, and look forward to talking with you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye now.